Here's Megyn Kelly, who I'm going to reserve comment based on what she's actually going to say. This she's talking to somebody from the National Review, and the idea is this is like the whataboutism with legs. They're trying to like put this on its feet. Like Trump and Biden are both going to be indicted at the same time. It's not. It's silly, but this is pretty fascinating as well. Listen to this. Why Biden Burisma allegations, and excuse me, that is not how it's pronounced.
The Burmese executives.
Right.
So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese.
All right, I don't really want to, but I'll Burmese allegations, and she's probably going to get it wrong. She probably pronounces illegal. That's not how you pronounce it at all. Yeah, I mean, get the words right. You know, that's the important thing.
Again, the words are conditions.
Yeah, right. Pronunciation is so important in the American, even in the soft conversational style of the American dialect of English.
Christopher Columbus, Christopher, huh?
Yeah, you know, names, places. There's some very specific ways that we tone our words so that people know what we're saying.
Here I am like an idiot.
Okay, so why Biden Burmese allegations are potentially more serious than Trump indictment with Charles Cook. Because Biden's president and Trump will never be president again? Is that where you're going? Let's find out. I believe in... Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. It's the Megyn Kelly show. Welcome to QVC. Today we're looking at hair rinses. Something that gives me body without it feeling greasy.
Now we have this information about Joe Biden, you know, as
no, you don't. You have allegations about Joe Biden.
As outlined by this FBI informant that, you know, has alarmed normally reasonable, fairly quiet, moderate Republican.
Yeah, that's what it's done. It's alarmed. Yeah, yes. Normally reasonable Republicans are alarmed by the idea that other Republicans think this is anywhere close to Trump hiding nuclear secrets in the shitter.
Lawmakers.
Sorry.
And one of the interesting things about this is Jamie Raskin, you know, he's the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. He's the Democrat who's saying, well, you know what? In August of 2020, Bill Barr and his, quote, handpicked U.S. attorney closed the assessment into this forum. This is old news. This is what the Democrats always say. This is
right, yes. Trump's FBI head and Trump's attorney general both went, this is fucking bullshit.
Old news. Bill Barr, a Republican under Trump, already closed this investigation.
Yeah, and he knows the best people. Hashtag the best people. You don't know this?
So there's no there. But Bill Barr happened to be on... he went on the Federalist on Wednesday and said, that's not true.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bill Barr said, I had a U.S. attorney take a look at the form just to see if we believed this was a credible source and worth further probing. And that U.S. attorney said,
look, none of us disagree that it's worth further probing.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
The question is, what are you going to find?
Moon River.
yes, it is. And yes, it is.
Yes, it is. It is. Okay, guys. Yes.
And Bill Barr said what we did at that point was pass the evidence on to the U.S. attorney in Delaware who had an open investigation on this. And Bill Barr said, quote, nothing was closed. And Comer was talking about this last night on Fox saying, people need to understand that is an admission that there is now an open U.S. attorney investigation.
Right, because that's how the Trump organization works. That's how Trump's methodology worked. Everything's a fucking reboot with these people. So Trump knows that one of the reasons he got into the White House in the first place was because Comey came out and he said there might be more to this Hillary Clinton thing than we thought. So we really got to take a look and a further investigation is important. And he came out to say this because he was getting pressure from the right wing and from Trump in particular and his crowd that they weren't taking it seriously. And so he got baited into going, we'll keep looking. If you think there's a there, we'll keep looking. And there wasn't. Ultimately, it farted out and ended up being nothing. But that allegation and the hanging allegation was enough to get him over the line. And Trump ever since has been trying to remake that moment. That's what the phone call, to Zelensky was about. Start this investigation. It doesn't have to go anywhere. Just get it going so I can say there's an open investigation. Barr opening an investigation and going, yeah, this look into this, and then passing it on to someone that he knows will just let it hang there.
Into Joe Biden right now in the state of Delaware, in the federal courts in Delaware, presumably involving a grand jury. And this could, I mean, Charles, we could be looking at a situation where the two men running for president against one another on the GOP and Democratic side are both under indictment. That is possible.
No, it's not. Because believe me, the idea that the fact that Trump is only not in jail right now because you can't indict a sitting president and because there's a policy against that. And he's currently the president. So the idea, I mean, just on the baseline, this is silly.
Yeah, and I think it's worth saying, given I'm so keen to draw distinctions, that if this is true, it is much more serious than the Trump indictment.
Yeah. No, it's not. It really isn't, honestly.
Decide whether or not Trump did it. I mean, it's hard to...
It doesn't matter if he hid nuclear secrets in the shitter. The important thing is that there's an open kind of draggy bullshit investigation in Delaware about a money exchange that actually happened years ago and that didn't even go to the Bidens, and that there's actually film of the fucking cash wrapped in plastic because it was a cash payment to tax officials inside Ukraine. And that's the important thing is that you and I can keep this turd in the air like a volleyball before someone can smash it over the... Can I borrow your shirt, Hal? My car just hit a water buffalo.
Find a way of looking at this if the facts that have been reported turn out to be correct.
Yes, if indeed the source's allegations that are from another source that's a criminal and left the country because they were bribing people, and if it turns out they gave a lot of money to Biden, money that he doesn't have and has never spent, because if you look at his house, there's no gold escalator in the fucking place. That
is not utterly damning. I mean, obviously, if Joe Biden was actually taking money from foreign organizations in exchange for changing government policy,
then he would have to actually change government policy, and that policy would have to differ from everyone else, including his boss at the time, who was the president. And that's the interesting thing.
Then that is a big enough scandal that he should immediately resign.
Yes, please resign, because if we have to actually go through and look at all this, it's not going to amount to a hill of beans. Perhaps I could just, by saying this into my microphone, maybe it will magically happen.
In disgrace, if not be impeached or indicted.
Now, of course, what I'm saying there is, of course, bullshit, and this is the kind of claptrap you would expect from a man cosplaying as a lumberjack in an IKEA across town. But the important thing...
Even if he wasn't, why would anyone who wishes to be seen as above board, who says, as you noted in your previous segment, I am honest, set up this extraordinary, elaborate means by which to move money around?
He didn't. It's very simple. He didn't. Why did... If Joe Biden's such an honest man, what brought him to hollow out the moon? A man knows a man who knows a man who said it. And therefore, Joe Biden must answer to why he hollowed out the moon and what kind of lake house he's got inside the moon and where that money went. And if Hunter Biden paid for those shutters, we need to see the receipts.
And I don't do that. I'm sure you don't do that.
There's no offshore accounts.
Well, that's you're no Tucker Carlson, certainly.
Right, but the quote that I read.
But no. But nothing. Trump got $15 million in a Chinese bank account while he was president. He gets $17 million. He took 15 of it out in cash because he's a billionaire and he needed the money. As all billionaires need $15 million out of nowhere because they're all like, fuck, you got any cash on you for parking?
In the New York Times was that the sort of labyrinthine way that this has been established is it could take 10 years to uncover. That was
No, that's the allegation. And the reason he says that is because they know Comer said this as well. And the reason he said this, my dear friend, is because they know there's no there there, and that they can leave this ghost hanging out there. And it's one day it shall all come unraveled, and you'll all find out, and it's all so, and you'll find out that his lake house is far from a cottage; it's made of gold.
Tension. Well, why? Again, I understand that
because I suppose you can make bullshit into a milkshake, but it would be better if you waited 10 years for that bullshit to turn into fertilizer to grow some plants that could be consumed by a cow, and then that cow could produce some milk, and then you could use that milk to make the milkshake, as opposed to just trying to drink bullshit.
There could be differences when the truth comes out, and I understand that some people do have good reason to have a relatively complex, financial setup. But
yes, but obviously Trump, because he's so wise, has over 500 LLCs just for himself, many for just bank accounts, no business. No nothing, no trade, just an LLC controlling a bank account that's just occasionally flush with money and occasionally used to back up a loan, and then the money goes away. It's almost as if someone puts money into that bank account that they share with Donald Trump as an invisible partner. He uses the cash on hand in that account as collateral for something else, and then that person, after the loan has gone through on Trump's side, takes their money back, and tacitly they have created a loan money laundering situation. But look, I'm not saying that happens all the time. I'm just saying it happens every time.
For the man who was a senator his whole life and then vice president and then moved into running for president, that is a very big red flag. So even if there was no provable quid pro quo here.
Right. Even if there was no provable quid pro quo, even if the policies never changed, even if China paid him a bunch of money to teabag them and slap them in the face with his dick, then we should know this as people.
That should alarm people in and of itself. If this turns out to be true, it's going to be a lot worse than...
Yes, if it turns out that it was actually Biden's idea to pass the CHIPS Act and attack China after they paid him good money, that's unfair.
The Trump classified documents scandal, which is
totally. I mean, you guys. I mean, come on, guys. Right? This is terrible. It's terrible. I need a sandwich.
Bad, but is a scandal that seems to affect everyone. It affected Trump's last opponent. Mike Pence is now, under investigation for this. Joe Biden is himself.
Right.
No, he's not. Mike Pence isn't under investigation for this, you dumb motherfucker. Trump sided with the people that were going to hang Mike Pence. Shut the fuck, stop. Oh my God, the moralizing.
And there's no allegation that Trump actually shared these documents with one of our enemies. All
right. You don't have to be successful. Again, attempted murder is just as much a crime as murder. That said, there's no sign that he hasn't. That some of the stuff that's been impacting us in the world, policy that the Saudis have taken against the United States, activities that they've engaged in, again, in terms of their relationship with Iran, or things going on in Yemen or Syria, or what the Russians thought or the Chinese thought, or how they thought they could play a certain leverage that was that it didn't come from that particularly, or that the ramp up and the buildup of nuclear weapons and them investing in more nuclear weapons didn't have something to do with their awareness of what we had.
The way there were allegations that the Chinese had accessed Hillary Clinton's server and seen documents that they were not entitled to see. Another.
Oh yeah, were there were allegations? Mm-hmm. Tell you what, I'm alleging because out of a quite frankly imposing level of logic that Trump, who shares classified intel over chocolate cake with randos in front of members of of Mar-a-Lago, and was tricked by a woman into thinking she was a fucking Rothschild, and showed the Iran attack plans to a couple of writers who were working on Mark Meadows' whatever his his biography. I don't know if they were his ghost writers or actually writing a biography about him in terms of that. He showed them that just for the fuck of it. You're going to tell me that he either A, didn't show it to somebody who was important, who he was trying to impress for business relationships that he has outside the fucking country, or that he didn't just show them to people who had no fucking idea, he had no fucking idea were who they were. Again, Anna de Rothschild. Okay. Shall we revisit this for dipshit here? If I may. Ladies and gentlemen. Two good stories in this. Okay, let me go, ladies and gentlemen. Here you go. Inventing Anna, the name of the story. The tale of a fake heiress, Mar-a-Lago, and an FBI investigation. See this lady right here? This lovely lady right here giving a thumbs up with Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump. See her? Okay. Her name is Ilya Yashishin. Let's see if I find her full name. Where's her actual name? Yeah. Ina Yashishin is her name. But she told Donald Trump and presumably Lindsey Graham, who she was hanging out with that day, and was not a member, by the way, of Mar-a-Lago. She just came and went in her $170,000 rented car with a fake address nearby that was close to where Epstein lived, but whatever. Ina Yashishin pretended to be Anna de Rothschild. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wow, Ina Yashishin sounds like a very Russian name. Sure. As a matter of fact, if she'd have just said, I'm Ina Yashishin, daughter of the oligarch Yuri Yashishin, they'd have probably been just as fucking nice to her. But Anna de Rothschild, and by the way, I'd like to invite any of our maggot friends or the Qs in the crowd to explain to everybody how you're okay with him hanging with this Rothschild or somebody who called themselves a Rothschild, but not the real Rothschilds because they run the world and globalists and super Jew and blah, blah, blah. Okay. For a time, Anna de Rothschild boasted her family roots to the European banking dynasty, donning designer clothes, a Rolex watch, and driving a $170,000 black Mercedes-Benz SUV. She talked about developing a sprawling luxury housing project. Hold on. Boink. I would blow this up. There she is. A pivotal moment for the woman who was fluent in several languages took place last year when she was invited to Mar-a-Lago, where she mingled with former President Donald Trump's supporters and showed up the next day for a golf outing with Mr. Trump and Senator Lindsey Graham, among other political luminaries. But the 30-year-old woman was not a member of the famous banking company and is now a subject of a widening FBI investigation that has delved into her past financial activities and the events that led her to the former president's rental property. It was near perfect ruse, and she played the part. John Lefebvre. By the way, you think she had any problem getting past Secret Service? Think she had any problem whatsoever? It's not her fucking name. Think she had a problem going to the storage room? You think she had any problem getting into the shitter? You think he didn't invite her to maybe come by the office sometime? In addition, the FBI and law enforcement agents in Canada have confirmed that she has been the subject of major crimes unit investigation in Quebec since February, a year before the FBI's spectacular raid of former President's seaside home. A year before. During the time when he was fighting giving back classified documents and hiding them, the woman, whose real name is Ina Yashishin, a Russian-speaking immigrant from Ukraine, made several trips to the estate, posing as a member of the famous, and by the way, from the Donbass. While making inroads with some of the former president's key supporters, Ina Yashishin drives her new Mercedes-Benz through the entrance at Mar-a-Lago, which is protected by Secret Service. There it is. That's her. There she is. She doesn't want her picture taken. as she's driving right into Mar-a-Lago. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, a woman operating under a fake name, hiding her face from a camera in her own car from her passenger as she drives into Mar-a-Lago, the safest place in the world. The ability of Miss Yashishin, daughter of an Illinois truck driver, to bypass the security at Trump's club demonstrates the ease at which someone with a fake identity and shadowy background can get into the facilities that's one of America's power centers in the epicenter of Republican Party politics. There's her Florida ID. Nice job, DeSantis. Thanks for keeping those illegal immigrant people out so they can't get... I hear that New York wants to give them immigrants that got that permanent resident status and live there all the time, but aren't full citizens. They want to give them driver's license, and then let them vote for mayor in just the city local elections because they live there all the time and they're legal permanent residents, but not citizens. So they can't vote for federal office. But I hear they do it. But thank God for Ron DeSantis not handing out bullshit Florida driver's license. P.S. Anybody know of a Florida congressman, big head, dipshit hairdo, kind of moves like this all the time, crooked, creepy grin, allegedly transported a 17-year-old girl under the influence of drugs out of state for sex, somebody like that, who had a buddy who made fake IDs for underage girls who went to jail. How'd she get that ID? What do you think? I mean, it's Miami Beach, right in the area. Okay. Those issues have become more critical after FBI agencies boxes of classified top secret documents. While her entry, multiple trips in and out of the club grounds, lays bare the vulnerabilities of a facility that serves as both the former president's residence and a private club. Private should be in fucking quotes, by the way, and highlights the gaps in security that can take place. That's his residence, said Ed Martin, a former U.S. Treasury special agent who spent more than 2 decades in criminal intelligence. She shouldn't have been in there. She has 2 fake passports, one from the U.S. and Canada, bearing her photo and the name Anna de Rothschild, and a Florida driver's license with the same name that shows the address of an opulent $13 million mansion in Miami Beach, where she never lived. This woman got on the grounds at Mar-a-Lago multiple times during the time that Trump had classified documents in unlocked rooms, hanging out, was invited into the private part of the residence, hung out with him and Lindsey Graham. Yeah. There she is. Look at that. There's her multiple IDs. Amazing. So that lady, by the way, this is this lady. She got her own picture, by the way, without Lindsay, I guess. That's Mar-a-Lago. What a dump. Also, ex-beau of fake Rothschild heiress who infiltrated Mar-a-Lago fled Canada after a bizarre shooting. That was a fun side story. Remember this shit back early last year? The alleged boyfriend of a woman who posed as a Rothschild heiress at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago last year says he suffered multiple gunshot wounds in a bizarre shooting outside a Canadian resort last week and is now too afraid to stay in that country, according to his lawyer. Meanwhile, a mystery deepens around the man questioned by the police and the family of the alleged victim's ex-wife. Valerie Tarasenko, 44, claims he was shot 3 times in the October 7th incident at the parking lot at Estoril Resort in Estoril, Quebec, where she's got a Canadian passport, doesn't she? Okay. Where he reportedly owns a weekend home. Tarasenko, a Ukrainian entrepreneur who runs businesses in Montreal and Miami, returned to his home in the U.S. after the alleged shooter was let go by police. He left Quebec not to avoid being questioned, but because of fears for his safety. Stephen Vinger, who represented Tarasenko in a domestic dispute with Inna Yashishin, a Ukrainian-born entrepreneur who is photographed with former Trump and Mar-a-Lago, claimed that Yashishin was posing as a fake heiress Anna de Rothschild to gain access to the party. She was shot on October 7th. Bullets grazed his head, pelvis, and severed one of his fingers, which has since been reattached. There's I don't know, is that a cake or a giant burger patty? We don't know. There she is, though. Yashishin claimed that she had been involved in a romantic relationship with Tarasenko that went sour after he forced her to set up a charity and myriad limited liability companies that he controlled. Who sets up limited liability companies like that? Who does that? It's just crazy pants. Hold on. Hi, chat room. Who you Yashishin? Montreal can be rough. Ah, yes, it's very dangerous, you know. It just nobody finds that curious that these and by the way, do you think Megyn Kelly and this and the I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay over here, like I'm basically, if you think about it, like the British version of brawny, which is the opposite of brawny. You think either one of them know about the Anna de Rothschild story? Of course they do. Think they give a fuck? No.
Distinction that doesn't bode well for the Democrats here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Again, I just want to read again to this Nancy Mace quote to Fox News Digital after reviewing that document with the confidential informant. She said, there is damning evidence the sitting president of the United States sold out his country in an ongoing bribery scheme. My God. I mean, again.
These people will say anything. Okay, how? Because again, the most recent one was about the prosecutor in Ukraine. And that guy was slated to be fired and everybody wanted him out. The president, Joe Biden's boss at the time, the Congress, the IMF, the EU, they wanted him out because he would not go after the corruption that the Russians were using to take down the Ukrainian government in its fledgling democratic state since he got in office. They wanted him gone. He was protecting oligarchs, not clearing them out. Good Lord.
This is not a lawmaker we know who is prone to hyperbole. With all due respect to Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't think I'd be that moved if I heard that from her. But from Nancy Mace?
Well,
it's because she's playing telephone.
And if you look back to when this story first leaked into the newspapers, the person who
didn't leak. First of all, it's a second gen allegation. It's a hearsay allegation in a FD 1023. Fine, look into it. Knock yourself the fuck out. So, for the record, go for it. That said, relaying that you read second-tier allegations from somebody is not evidence. It might drive you to look into that stuff. You might say this is absolutely something we need to look into. But you could say the exact same thing about the dossier. The Steele dossier.
His name was all over it was Chuck Grassley, who was another person who is not really associated with hyperbole.
Get the fuck out of here. Chuck Grassley, like, every time he turns around, we got to get after these Bidens. For the record, he's the guy who's crafted, like, he had put out a 1,000-page document about all this shit, and none of it went anywhere. 1,000 fucking pages. None of it planned out. Can you imagine writing 1,000 pages to make a case about something and having zero evidence? I'm not kidding. Nothing.
Who doesn't tend to get carried away.
Get carried away? No, he's singular purpose. He doesn't carry it away because he can give a shit about anything but this.
Who's quite careful. And I thought at the time,
no.
Well, that gives it some credence. But as you say, the fact that this has now been seen and echoed by Nancy Mace is telling. Usually when I'm on a show, whether it's yours or my own podcast or the editors at National Review, and
yes, usually I'm on their show. It's interesting. I usually focus my camera on my face and not my books. But today I'm trying something crazy.
Nancy Mace's name comes up. It's because she's savaging Republicans. That's why she makes the news. She criticizes 100%. Republicans all the time.
Yeah, but that's why this can give her cover. It doesn't have to amount to anything. It's a freebie. It doesn't require any strength on her part. She can be outraged. Oh, God, at the allegations laid forth in this document need to be looked into. And then when they turn out to be nothing, she can go, well, I'm glad they looked into it.
She has an ongoing feud with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, now both of them are saying the same thing. That suggests to me that she went into a room, she looked through this information, and she came out shocked.
Look,
you're shocked. I'm shocked.
you did the tough thing during COVID. You paid your people and pulled your business through the pandemic.
Oh my God, is she doing a gold ad?
And now doing the tough thing could qualify you for up to $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org.
Oh, good Lord. At covidtaxrelief.org. The ad at the end of this. Why would there be COVID tax relief? Why would there be? Who would put in something like COVID tax relief? Like, obviously, this was all a scam. This was all, they made all that. How could you even? All right. You get me? COVID tax relief. Get that shit out of here. Oh my God. That's gorgeous. Carrie Lake Reverseville, who's this guy? Shouldn't you be in the UK? Yeah, it's always, is she promoting socialism? I think so. I think she is. I think that's kind of crazy, but it looks like it. Dun, dun, dun. Megyn Kelly, commie.